Those moments really surprised me. It was like something just clicked. I just shot 3 of the best shots of 2023.
The realities of shooting film photography is that most of the images you take will actually disappoint you. It doesn't matter the type of gear you have. You could have the best camera, a low aperture lens, and even use your favorite film stock. And when you get your negatives back from the lab, they just end up being mediocre. A lot of things really have to go right to get great images. Sometimes you're not able to find a good composition. The lighting conditions aren't the best. Or you could have everything right and just miss the focus on your camera. And then there are those few times where everywhere you look is photogenic. You almost get mad at yourself and think, I should have brought more film. There's just so many good compositions. I wanted to highlight or share 3 moments in 2023 where I had this exact feeling. And not just share these moments, but also look back and try to figure out what made these images so good. Photography is an iterative process, and I think it's important to look back at your previous images. By doing this, you're able to find that common thread between them, and then you can not only recreate those pictures, but you can improve and better fine-tune your craft. For the first banger, I found myself in the Bay Area, specifically San Francisco. It was my first time, so I spent the first day just walking the city, getting myself familiar with the surrounding. I tried to walk from Japantown all the way to the Golden Gate Bridge. I quickly found out that I was actually closer to Pier 39, so I ended up just ordering an Uber on the spot. My driver dropped me off probably about a quarter mile away from the bridge. It was like a random little park. While walking some of the walkways and little trails, I found a composition that really caught my eye. I could see some good contrast between the subject and then the surrounding background. Overall, like, the composition just felt right. In the foreground, I had the sidewalk with all the gravel, and then I had the subject that was sitting on the bench that was well illuminated, and then in the background, I could see the bridge. I could see the coastline, the water, even some boats in the water. Overall, it just felt like a really good composition. At the time, I had some Lomo Purple loaded in my camera. If you guys aren't familiar with that film stock, it's similar to Aerochrome. You get a lot of interesting color shifts whenever you get your negatives back, and it tends to make a lot of the image very purple and pink, which makes sense with the name, right? It's called Lomo Purple. If you have any blue tones in the scene, those tend to appear either more intense or they'll even change in color. The oranges and the reds, those also tend to appear a lot warmer. You'll have those bright purples. And then if you have any green tones in your image, those tend to look a little bit more subdued. I had this film stock locked and loaded in the camera, and what I've noticed when I find a composition that I'm really drawn to, it's like I have a certain aha moment. I usually give myself a chance to frame the image. I'll follow one of those traditional rules, like the rule of thirds, where I'll have the subject in 1/3 and then the background in the other third. And then just like that, I capture the moment. I like to think about one of my favorite quotes by Joe Meyerowitz that says, when color is the subject, there's more things to look at. It's not just what's in the framing, it's all the emotions and stories behind all the different colors. Color adds so much to a composition. You could shoot something boring and bland and love it. Something as simple as a house in the burbs can look aesthetic depending on the richness of the colors. Color adds another dimension to something that's already 3D. For this next image, I was also in the SF area. While walking around in the streets, I found this nice looking townhome. Instead of shooting the full frame, I wanted to zero in on the details and the different colors. The background or the wooden framing of the house was this off-white color with nice textures. And then the subjects of the scene were all the different plants. You had areas with reds and oranges and yellows, and then other areas where you had a lot of lush greens. They had the rich green colors. Even the shadows really stood out to me. They were nice and soft, and they had a nice fall off to them. The scene made me think of one of Edward Hopper's famous paintings. Most people will probably find this image really boring. There isn't much really going on. But let me ask you a question. How many times do you look at interesting things in a year? It's probably not a lot. Most of the time, You're doing normal and routine things in normal and routine places. It's only because you see your house every day you're able to take it for granted. But if it was taken away, you would feel like you lost something that's very important. So next time you walk by the front of your house, take a double take. Look at it more than once, once or twice. And you might notice something eye-catching that you didn't see before. All good things have to come to an end. For this last image, I found myself in the Albuquerque, New Mexico area. I was out there for a bodybuilding competition, and I wanted to be better about having my camera on hand just in case I was to find some good composition. This just happened to be one of those moments where I was hit with a bit of inspiration. I was driving around with my truck and I found this empty parking lot. It was at one of those commercial real estate buildings. Think of like a Sherwin-Williams. The first thing I noticed in the scene was how low contrast it was, and there were just a lot of pastel tones. If I had to describe it in technical terms, I would say that it was shifted in the upper third of the histogram. I again was being drawn to that Edward Hopper-esque painting trope. Overall, I would say this scene left me with a sense of peace and calm, and it just felt like the right moment. I hope you're able to find some value in some of my ideas and reflections. This was my first YouTube video, but I'm excited to keep making content. So please like, comment, and most importantly, subscribe to the channel. Be part of this journey as I grow to become a content creator. Some of the common themes of the channel will be photography, philosophy, and books. This YouTube thing is gonna be an iterative process, and I'm excited to keep improving.